What if everything you believe about greatness is wrong? What if talent isn't what separates the average from the extraordinary, but something far more powerful and far more under your control? Because the truth is, the people you admire most, world-class athletes, master artists, genius-level thinkers, they didn't get there because they were born different. They got there because they practiced differently, trained deliberately, and pushed themselves in ways almost no one else is willing to. This is the real secret. And it's not just for the elite, it's for you. Welcome to Talent is Overrated. The truth about what it really takes to become great. Imagine a young boy in a dusty room, clutching a violin. He scrapes at the strings while adults nearby wince and smile politely. A few years later, that same boy is filling concert halls, audiences moved to tears by the sound of his music. What changed? If you ask most people, they'll shrug and say, well, he's gifted. As if that explains everything. As if brilliance is something you're either born with, not. But what if that story is a lie? What if greatness doesn't come from some magical quality deep in our DNA, but from something far more ordinary and far more powerful? This is the myth we're here to shatter. From the boardrooms of Fortune 500 companies to the sweaty gyms where world-class athletes train. A hidden truth that the most successful people in the world know, whether they're CEOs, pianists, soldiers, or scientists. They understand that talent by itself means almost nothing. And once you know what really drives extraordinary performance, your entire life can change. So lean in. Because what you're about to hear might not just challenge everything you've been told. It might unlock a future you didn't think was possible. For generations, people have searched for the secret to high achievement. IQ tests, genetics, birth order, education, even birth month. We've tried to decode greatness by examining every possible angle, except the one that actually matters. Look at Mozart. He's the poster child for raw, divine talent. But the story most people know is wrong. Yes, he was composing music as a child. But what they forget is that his father was a music teacher, obsessed with early childhood training. And that Mozart began practicing before most kids could write their names. In fact, nearly every child prodigy was immersed in a rigorous, structured environment long before their talent bloomed. So, if it's not talent, what is it? The answer is both uncomfortable and liberating. Uncomfortable because it means there are no shortcuts. Liberating because it means anyone can rise. The real engine of greatness. It's something called deliberate practice. Not just practice. Not just repetition. But a very specific, intensely focused form of improvement that rewires your brain and body for excellence. It's the kind of practice that pushes you just beyond your comfort zone, involves constant feedback and correction, is mentally demanding. Not mindless, is done with clear purpose. not routine. This is not the 10,000-hour rule you've heard about. Time isn't enough. You can practice a skill for 30 years and still be average. What matters is how you practice. That's why some people seem to explode forward in their careers, while others plateau. The difference isn't intelligence. It's not natural gifts. It's whether they're practicing deliberately or not. And here's where it gets even more interesting. In nearly every field, those who rise to the top do not do so alone. They're part of systems, environments, and cultures that support extreme performance. World-class musicians often attend schools that design every hour of their day around mastery. Elite athletes are tracked, coached, corrected, and developed relentlessly. High performers in business, the same pattern. They live inside a feedback loop, one that's intense, honest, and focused on growth. Now think about your own life. Where do you practice like this? Where do you get real feedback? Where are you being challenged just beyond your limits every day? If the answer is nowhere, don't worry. That's where most people are. But that's also why most people stay stuck. Because performance doesn't improve by chance. It improves by design. Before we move forward, let's pause for a second. Think of the thing you want to be great at, truly world class. Is it writing, speaking, leading, teaching, selling, creating? Whatever it is. Now imagine who you would be if you mastered it, not because you were born with it, but because you earned it through a process that anyone can follow. But few are willing to commit to. If that vision excites you, then what comes next will show you how to make it real. Asterisk, in a moment, we're going to uncover why most people quit long before they reach greatness, and how you can build the mental structure that keeps you growing when everyone else gives up. And once you understand that secret, you'll never approach skill building the same way again. Ready to go deeper? Let's continue. Asterisk. So why do most people never get great? It's not because they don't want to. Most people dream of mastery, of standing out, of becoming truly excellent at something. But somewhere along the road, they stall. They get frustrated. They settle. And eventually, they tell themselves stories like, I guess I just wasn't born for it. Maybe I'm not that kind of person. Some people just have the knack. They hit what every achiever faces, the plateau. This is the silent killer of dreams. It's the point where effort doesn't seem to lead to progress, where things stop feeling exciting, where growth becomes slow, painful, invisible. And the truth, that's exactly where greatness begins. See, the difference between amateurs and top performers isn't that the pros love the grind more. It's that they learn to move through the plateau with precision and purpose. They don't see a lack of progress as a sign to quit. They see it as a signal. Time to shift gears, adjust the strategy, or push into deeper levels of discomfort. That's what deliberate practice is designed for. It's not fun. It's not sexy. But it works. Because while most people confuse repetition with improvement, top performers understand this. Repetition without feedback is stagnation. Think about that. How often do you repeat tasks, routines, or habits without actually getting better at them? Answering emails, writing, pitching, coaching, selling, speaking. We repeat, but we don't review. We don't challenge. Okay. We don't tweak. And so we stay the same. Here's the insight that changes everything. Improvement isn't automatic. It's engineered, and that engineering begins with mental habits, the way you think about effort, mistakes, progress, and pain. Most people try to avoid mistakes. They want to stay safe, feel competent, look good, but the best in the world. They chase discomfort. They seek critique. They obsess over the tiniest improvements. They don't fear feedback, not because they enjoy being wrong, but because they understand that every error is a map to better performance. Let's zoom in on that. Imagine you're practicing a skill, public speaking. For example, an average performer might say, "Well, I gave that presentation. I hope it went okay." A high performer will say, "What words triggered the most attention? Where did I lose the audience? Was my body language distracting? How was my pacing, tone, volume?" Then they'll watch the recording, review the reactions, adjust their structure, test new openings, track results. That's not obsession. That's ownership. And it's available to anyone, not just the elite. But here's the catch. This kind of practice requires deep mental stamina. It demands full focus, emotional control, the ability to tolerate frustration, boredom, and failure without backing down. That's why so few do it. Because this path doesn't just train your skill, it trains your character. You don't just become a better performer. You become a different kind of person, more resilient, more reflective, more strategic, more humble. So the question becomes, are you willing to pay the price for greatness? Not the price of talent. That myth is gone. The real price, showing up every day to deliberately get better at what you do, no matter how long it takes. Asterisk. But even if you're willing, there's a crucial piece we haven't explored yet, because deliberate practice doesn't happen in isolation. In the next segment, we'll explore why your environment may be the biggest factor shaping your growth, and how to create conditions that force you to evolve. And the best part, you don't have to change the world around you, just how you interact with it. Let's keep going. Asterisk. Let's step into a training camp deep in the mountains. Young athletes push their limits in brutal conditions, drilling, failing, trying again. Coaches observe every movement. Teammates cheer, correct, compete. There's no room for laziness here, no tolerance for mediocrity. The atmosphere demands growth. Now imagine the same athletes, alone, in a garage. No coach, no feedback. No structured, raw effort. Same bodies, same desire, different outcomes. Why? Because the environment changed. When it comes to high performance, what surrounds you shapes you more than you think. We love to believe in the lone genius, the artist in a basement, the entrepreneur in a garage, the prodigy with natural flair. But the truth is, nearly every world-class performer developed inside a performance system, a culture, a structure, a set of expectations and pressures that forced them to improve. It wasn't just their willpower, it was the ecosystem they lived in. Think about elite violinists. They also train in environments where feedback is constant, the bar is high, and everyone around them is trying to level up. They live in a state of continuous comparison, not in a toxic way, but in a way that stretches them. The same is true in business. Top CEOs don't just work harder. They surround themselves with challenge-tough advisors, sharp teams, high-stakes decisions, and it's not coincidence, because when you're in an environment where excellence is the standard, you don't rise by motivation, you rise by necessity. Ask yourself this: who do I spend the most time around? What expectations do they place on me? Are they challenging me or comforting me? Do my surroundings stretch me to grow? These aren't casual questions. They're the difference between staying stuck and breaking through. Because if your environment makes comfort easy and challenge rare, even the strongest ambition will fade. Here's the good news: you don't need to move to a monastery or join a billion-dollar startup to build your performance system. You just need to consciously craft pressure, feedback, and accountability into your daily world. How? Create a habit of self-review. Find a mentor who pushes you. Join groups where your current level isn't impressive. Invite feedback even when it stings. Declare your goals publicly so they feel real. Set standards that feel slightly out of reach. It's not about being perfect. It's about engineering growth. You want to build a world where staying the same becomes uncomfortable, and improvement becomes inevitable. Here's a powerful example. At West Point, the U.S. military academy, cadets are immersed in a culture where excellence isn't optional. Every minute is measured. Every action has consequences. The pressure is enormous, but so is the transformation. Most arrive as ordinary young adults. They leave as world-class leaders, not because of who they were, but because of what the system demanded them to become. That's the magic of a high-performance environment. Now, contrast that with most workplaces. Meetings drag. Feedback is rare. Mediocrity is tolerated. Goals are vague. People do what's expected and not an inch more. These aren't bad people. They're just in systems that don't call them higher. And unless they design their own challenge, they'll slowly fade into average. So, if you're serious about getting better, Ask, how do I build friction into my comfort zones? Where can I place myself under useful pressure? Who can I invite into my process who won't let me stay the same? Because environment isn't something you find. It's something you create. Asterisk, but even the best environment won't save you. If your beliefs hold you back, in the next part, we'll unpack one of the most important elements of all, the mental framework that top performers use to interpret failure, feedback, and frustration. Because it's not just what you practice. It's how you think about what happens while you're practicing that determines how far you'll go. Let's continue. Asterisk, you've probably met someone who works hard, but never seems to rise. They show up. They care. They try. But when things get tough, when progress slows, or feedback stings, you can see it in their eyes. They hesitate, shrink, second guess. And eventually, they tell themselves what so many others already believe. Maybe I've hit my ceiling. Okay, but here's the truth. They haven't hit their ceiling. They've hit their beliefs. Because when things get hard, your beliefs are the voice you hear in your head. And that voice determines whether you retreat or rise. Top performers don't just train harder. They think differently. They don't see mistakes as failure. They see data. They don't see obstacles as blocks. They see training grounds. They don't view setbacks as signs to quit. They view them as signals to refine. This mindset isn't natural. It's built, and it's available to anyone who's willing to challenge their assumptions. Let's break it down. There are two invisible forces running in your mind right now. The beliefs you hold about yourself, the meanings you attach to what happens if you believe you're not good at numbers. You'll avoid financial problems rather than solve them. If you believe I always mess up under pressure, you'll freeze when it matters most. But here's the key. Those beliefs aren't facts. They're stories. And stories can be rewritten. It's not about becoming delusional. It's about becoming deliberate. High performers constantly shape their beliefs around growth, not limitation. They don't say, I can't. They say, not yet. They don't say, this proves I'm failing. They say, this shows me where to grow. That small shift, it rewires your trajectory, because what you believe sets the ceiling on your effort, and your effort shapes your outcome. Let's look at one of the most powerful examples in sports history. A young quarterback enters the NFL. Not highly recruited, not drafted early. Scouts call him mediocre. He's not the tallest, fastest, or flashiest, but he outworks them all. He studies film longer, practices harder, obsessively refines every throw. He doesn't care what others believe about him. He knows who he's becoming. Fast forward, and he becomes one of the greatest to ever play the game. That quarterback, Tom Brady, was he born with something special? Maybe. But what made the difference wasn't what he had did, what he believed. and how he practiced based on those beliefs. Now, bring it back to you. What beliefs are keeping you where you are? Where are you interpreting discomfort as danger instead of growth? If you want to break through, you must shift your inner narrative from "I'm not naturally good at this" to "This is a skill I can build." "I'm behind" to "I'm right where I need to be to learn what matters." "This is hard" to "This means I'm growing." This mindset turns every situation, good or bad, into fuel. And when your beliefs start to align with growth, the results compound. But belief doesn't stand alone. It needs structure. It needs reinforcement. That's why top performers obsess over reflection. They journaled their thoughts. They tracked their performance. They dissect what went wrong, not emotionally, but scientifically. It's not about beating themselves up, about staying curious, because that curiosity creates awareness. And awareness is the beginning of all real change. So, here's your challenge. Take 15 minutes tonight. Write down 3 beliefs you hold about your performance or identity. Now ask, is this belief helping me or holding me back? Where did I learn it? What might I believe instead? Then, rewrite one of them, just one dot, and commit to living by that new belief for the next 7 days. You'll be amazed how fast your actions begin to match your new mindset. Asterisk, we've talked about deliberate practice. We've uncovered the role of feedback, systems, and belief. But there's one more hidden factor that separates top performers from the rest. It's not talent. It's not intelligence. It's something almost no one talks about: motivation. That lasts. In the next segment, we'll unlock what drives high achievers to keep going for years, even decades, and how you can tap into the same fuel. Let's keep going. Asterisk, everyone's motivated in the beginning. The gym on January 1st. The first day of a new project. The moment after watching an inspiring TED Talk. But real greatness isn't built in those moments. It's built in the invisible hours, when no one's watching, when progress is invisible, when quitting is easy and praise is scarce. The question isn't how to get motivated. It's how to stay motivated when the feeling is gone. Because that's where most people fall apart. Here's the truth. Top performers aren't always inspired. They're not riding on constant waves of passion. They just figured out something deeper, where real motivation comes from. It doesn't come from external rewards. It doesn't come from being told you're talented. It comes from purpose, and how that purpose is connected to everything you do. Let's break that down. Imagine 2 people practicing the same skill. Let's say writing. One writes to finish an assignment, to get a pat on the back, to be liked. The other writes to explore truth, to express ideas that might help someone, to shape their own thinking and leave a legacy. Same task, same hours. Very different fuel. The first will burn out quickly. The second, they'll keep going long after others stop, because their effort is connected to meaning. This is what psychologists call intrinsic motivation. The inner drive to do something because it matters to you, not because someone else is watching. Top performers organize their work around meaning. A great pianist isn't just hitting keys. They're shaping sound, creating emotion, connecting soul to soul through music. A world-class surgeon isn't just cutting tissue. They're saving lives, restoring dignity, becoming a master of precision. Even business leaders, those who last, don't lead for a paycheck. They lead to build something better, to grow people, to challenge themselves, to serve at scale. Their effort is embedded with purpose. So how do you build this into your own life? You start asking better questions. Why does this work matter to me? Who am I serving through this? How is this helping me become who I want to be? Don't just do things. Attach them to meaning. Because when your effort connects to identity and purpose, you don't need motivation, you build momentum. Asterisk. But there's another side to lasting motivation. Not just inspiration, but discipline. The ability to keep going when the fire fades. The skill of showing up whether you feel like it or not. And yes, is a skill. Discipline is built just like strength through reps. You train it every time you keep a promise to yourself. Every time you push past, I don't feel like it. Every time you show up when no one else will. And over time, that discipline becomes identity. You no longer say, I should do this. You say, this is who I am. That identity is what sustains you. Not the temporary hype, not applause, not talent, but the internal standard that says, I'm the kind of person who trains, improves, finishes. That's the heartbeat of every high performer you admire. Let's pause for a moment. Think of something in your life right now that feels hard to stay consistent with. Maybe it's health. Maybe it's learning. Maybe it's showing up powerfully in a relationship or a creative pursuit. Now ask, why does this matter to me truly? What kind of person do I become when I stay consistent? What would it mean to live in alignment with that? Let those answers fuel you, because they're more powerful than any motivational video or a quote. Here's a practical tool you can use immediately. Create a personal mission loop. It goes like this. I do this work, gives, because it helps me become _gives, which helps me create _gives, which aligns with the life I want, gives. So I keep doing the work. The more often you loop through that meaning, the deeper your motivation becomes. And unlike emotion, that loop doesn't fade. Asterisk. But here's the final twist. Even with all of this deliberate practice, feedback, mindset, environment, and purpose, there's one final obstacle that can still hold you back. Time. In the next segment, we'll unpack how the best performers in the world don't find time. They build systems that multiply it. Because the way you manage time may be the difference between stepping into mastery. Let's keep going. Asterisk. everyone gets 24 hours, but why does it seem like some people achieve 10 times more with the same time? They don't have more talent. They don't have secret hours in the day. What they have is a system, because top performers understand a truth that average people ignore. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Let's be real. Goals are everywhere. People set them, announce them, write them in journals, plaster them on vision boards. But goals alone don't produce change. Habits and structure do. High achievers don't just plan for the outcome, they plan for the process. They build systems that eliminate decision fatigue. They organize their environment to reduce friction. They create default actions that move them forward, even on bad days. Imagine two people trying to master the same skill. One says, "I'll practice whenever I have time." The other says, "Every weekday at 7 a.m., I sit down with a 30-minute timer, tackle one specific weakness, log my results, and adjust for tomorrow." Same ambition. One leaves it to chance. The other designs it to happen. Guess who improves faster? Elite performers don't trust motivation. They trust structure. They create rituals that protect their most important work. They chunk big goals into micro tasks. They automate what can be automated. They batch what can be batched. They say no to everything that doesn't move the needle. It's not about being rigid. It's about being intentional. Let's bring it down to earth. Think about your current goals. Maybe it's building a business, learning a language, improving your body, mastering a craft. Now ask, what's the exact time blocked for this? What triggers the habit to begin? How is progress tracked? If you can't answer those clearly, you're not underperforming because of effort. You're underperforming because of lack of systems. Now, here's the real kicker. The more you systemize, the less willpower you need. And when willpower isn't wasted on small decisions, it gets saved for the hard ones, the ones that drive real growth. That's why world-class performers seem so calm, so focused, so in control. It's not magic, it's mechanics. They've outsourced discipline to design. This is where the myth of overnight success completely falls apart. Behind every sudden breakout is a quiet, boring, well-designed system that's been operating for years. Most people never see it. They just see the result. But if you reverse engineer success, you'll always find structure. Here's a practical tool to implement. Right now, the 3-layer system strategy, daily rituals, anchor habits that happen no matter what. For example, 20 minutes of skill work each morning, weekly reviews, reflect on progress, track metrics, identify friction. Quarterly resets, zoom out, realign goals, redesign systems if needed. This framework keeps your ambition grounded in reality. And reality is where results happen. But remember, systems don't have to be complex. They just have to be consistent. Start small. One calendar block, one checklist, one new habit, then build. Because once systems are in place, growth stops being stressful and starts becoming inevitable. Asterisk. So we've covered practice, feedback, belief, motivation, and systems. But there's one final shift that takes performance from excellent to exceptional. It's the ability to adapt under pressure, to stay calm, focused, and flexible when everything's on the line. In the next segment, we'll dive into the mental composure and decision-making of the world's top performers and how you can build it into your life. Let's move forward. Asterisk. Pressure doesn't create character. It reveals it when the spotlight hits, when the stakes rise, when the margin for error vanishes. Some people panic, others rise. Same situation, different internal world. What separates the two? It's not talent. It's not intelligence. The quiet, powerful skill of mental composure built over time, trained like a muscle. The best in the world don't avoid pressure. They train to perform inside it. They don't hope to be calm. They condition calm into their nervous system. Whether it's a surgeon in the operating room, a pilot in a storm, or a speaker facing a massive crowd, the internal toolkit is the same. Controlled breathing, clear mental cues, emotional awareness, present moment, focus. Post-event, debriefing. It's not willpower. It's preparation. Let's take a closer look. One of the most reliable tools high performers use is pre-performance routines. These are simple, repeatable behaviors that signal the brain it's time to execute. It might be a few deep breaths, a personal mantra, a specific warm-up sequence, visualization of the perfect rep. These rituals aren't random. They anchor the mind, and when the mind is anchored, the chaos outside doesn't drown you. But that's just the start. What happens after the pressure matters just as much. Most people collapse into emotional storytelling. I blew it. Was awful. I'm not cut out for this. Top performers don't tell stories. They do post-event analysis. Not emotional, but forensic. What went right? What needs refinement? What did I learn? This reflective muscle builds confidence, not because everything went perfectly, but because nothing went unexamined. And that's the heart of composure. Self-awareness without self-judgment. You see yourself clearly, but don't attack yourself. You own the error, but don't become the error. You extract the lesson, then move forward, clean. It's a rare trait, but one you can build. Another powerful shift. High performers don't frame pressure as threat. They frame it as training, a high-stakes meeting, reps, a championship final, reps, a difficult conversation, reps, everything is a rep. This perspective turns anxiety into engagement. You're not proving yourself. You're strengthening yourself. And that mindset unlocks energy you didn't know you had. Let's zoom out. The common thread through every elite performer isn't just technical skill. It's emotional regulation under fire. That's what makes the difference when the pressure spikes. That's what keeps execution clean. That's what protects focus. And it's something you can start training right now. Try this. Name the pressure. Acknowledge what's at stake without catastrophizing. Ground the body. Deep breath. In. Hold. Slow. Exhale. Repeat. Choose a cue. A short phrase that locks you into mission mode. Example. Steady and clear. Debrief honestly. After action, reflect with curiosity, not shame. It doesn't take long. But over time, these rituals become armor. Now, imagine yourself 1 year from today. You've trained the skill. Pressure no longer rattles you. You walk into high-stakes moments with clarity, composure, and confidence. How different does your life look? Because when pressure stops being the enemy, performance becomes your default. Asterisk, we've built the engine. Deliberate practice, powerful beliefs, sustainable motivation, resilient systems until mastery under pressure. But there's one final question. Is it too late? Can someone who's already deep into their career or someone just starting out still rise to the top? In our final segment, we'll explore what the research says about starting late, reinventing yourself, and how greatness might be closer than you think. Let's finish strong. There's a lie most people silently believe. If I didn't start young, it's too late. They scroll through bios of teenage prodigies, viral founders, and early achievers, whispering to themselves. They started at 12. I'm already behind. But here's the truth. The idea that success has an expiration date. It's a myth. The real determinant of high performance isn't when you begin. It's how you approach the path from wherever you are. Consider this. Ray Kroc built McDonald's into a global empire in his 50s. Colonel Sanders franchised in his 60s. Grandma Moses began painting at 78. Vera Wang didn't design her first dress until 40. Toni Morrison published her first novel at 39, went on to win the Nobel Prize. None of them started early. All of them finished strong. Why? Because mastery isn't about age. It's about intensity. And intensity isn't just energy. It's how focused your effort is over time. What this book shows us again and again is that deliberate practice isn't reserved for child prodigies or Ivy League graduates. It's available to you right now, whether you're 17 or 57. You can choose today to become world-class at something that matters to you. The same principles apply. Find the edge of your ability. Train with intention and feedback. Track progress. Manage your mindset. Build rituals and review loops. Learn through pressure. Stay grounded in purpose. These aren't tricks. They're tools, and they compound. So let's destroy the last excuse. It's too late for me. Here's the reality. If you start today, it'll be 12 months ahead of where you would be if you let this moment pass. If you commit to a practice structure, it's a shaping belief, to building systems, you won't just improve. You'll transform, not into someone else, but into the best version of who you were meant to be, before the world told you otherwise. This is the final, sobering, and empowering truth. Talent is overrated. But effort isn't. Effort guided by insight. Effort aligned with purpose. Effort sustained over time. Effort connected to identity. That's the formula, and now you know it. So what happens next? That depends on one thing. Will you let this knowledge sit in your mind, or will you turn it into motion? Because you're not missing anything. You're not too late. You're not disqualified. You just need to begin. Asterisk, if this message hit home, if it challenged you, or lit a fire you forgot you had, then let's keep growing together. Subscribe to Bookmind right now for more life-changing insights, deep audiobook breakdowns, and high-performance principles to help you rise. Like this video if you believe greatness is earned, not given. Comment below. What skill or area are you now ready to master? We want to hear your mission. And most of all, remember, you don't need to be extraordinary to start. You just need to start to become extraordinary. Your time is now.